Mission Lock and Load.
And we're back. Kill the Cat Radio. KTCR. Because what killed the cat? Curiosity. Satisfaction brought it back. That is right, everyone. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 3, and we've got a treat for you this evening. It's not every day you get to meet a real character. I met our next guest in a dive bar in Paris, France. This was my third time in the city, and again, I had the opportunity to live and exist in that fine town. I had learned something about the city as an outsider. That's exactly what you are to the Parisians. An immigrant, a foreigner. And like in any big city, people got places to go and people to see. I had located a place just off the Seine that served a great happy hour and was very friendly the moment you walked in. That's when I realized I was in a Canadian-themed bar. This may sound odd, and it certainly was, though they did offer Labatt Blue and poutine on the menu, so that kept me around. But the bartenders were amazingly friendly the moment you walked in. Now this was an absolute anomaly in Paris. I became a bit of a barfly there, showing up during my daily strolls around the town. There was free internet, they showed the American ball games, and it was chock full of other people that were just like me, outsiders. So it was inevitable that I would meet Miss Kaitlyn Kelly, a Canadian-born jack of all trades. From the moment we started talking about the arts, her acerbic wit and Fran Lebowitz sense of pessimism alerted me that I was amongst a kindred spirit. People had to band together here in Paris, because alone we were the foreigners. But together, we were allies in the same fight. We became fast friends. And years later, I caught up with Kaitlyn Kelly here in Brooklyn. I told her all about Kill the Cat Radio and what I was trying to do, and she was more than willing to sit down for a long chat about filmmaking, living abroad, and what it means to live an actual artistic life. Something you don't get in France, ice cubes.
I know, I've never seen so many ice cubes.
Everybody's like, what do you miss about America? You know, when you're in France.
Ice cubes.
The only thing I miss about America is fucking ice cubes. That's about it. How'd you sleep?
Great.
Yeah? Is it okay?
Oh, fabulous. Thank you. It's one of the better coaches I've had.
Lean up. I can handle all the.
You're so professional.
How you feeling?
I feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep talking a little bit.
I'll keep talking a little bit.
There you go. Now I get the rasp.
Yeah. I know.
You get the good.
I sound like a 46-year-old smoker.
You're like, hey, how you doing?
How you doing? I've been spending too much time in Brooklyn.
I'm over in Miami now. So I think there's some kind of format I'm trying to. Can you hear yourself?
Yeah, too well.
So I did write out questions before this happened.
On a napkin or what?
No, these are my note cards.
That's cute.
I know no one uses. I know this is how you know you're over 40. It's like you've got note cards.
But hey, I still write my work schedule in an agenda. So.
Wait, do you have an agenda? You have a little...
Oh yeah, I have to write it in like a little. Like
how are you writing? But how old are you? I mean,
I'm 27.
So how are because they say that, millennial people don't use even paper or pen anymore.
I journal and I
you do?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I'm an introverted extrovert. I guess.
You're going around New York, like doing what? What are you doing with these people?
With these people, well, I'm trying to coerce them into interviewing for my project.
Do they
for no money?
Right, but that's okay. You're not supposed to pay the interviewers.
No.
Or the interviewees.
Yeah.
But what are you interviewing them for? What's that?
So I'm making a project, a film called Come As You Aren't, and it's about people and their relationship to cosmetics, and this reason why we feel the need to put on a mask when we leave the house every day and go out into the world, and who do we become when we do that?
And okay, so that's how do you pitch it? How do you find your people?
Well, it started out like interviewing like my mom, my grandmother, my best friend. So it was often people that I knew, and I would just, tell them I'm working on it, and they were like, oh, cool, I'll get involved. And then more recently, I had found out, like one person in particular that I interviewed while I'd been in New York, I found her through an online magazine. that she had already talked a little bit about makeup, and I saw that she was based here, and I found her Instagram, and I just sent a cold call basically, and
you reached out to her.
Yeah,
and
reached out, and she said, sure, absolutely. And then through her, she posted on Instagram and told other friends, and they're like, oh, we'd love to participate too. This week too, I met a woman in a bar who started chatting with her, and her daughter's sitting next to her, and her daughter's a makeup artist. And then so they decided to interview together for me, mother-daughter, which was so cool. And so it's sort of, it kind of could be people I know or complete strangers depending on circumstance. And I've met people in my bar back in Paris who've agreed to interview for me, and it's just being able to talk, I guess, promote your work.
So you just go up to people and you're just, people. How do you think that most people are pretty excited about when you talk about it?
Yeah, for the most part. There are some people that are a little shy. They're a little hesitant about being on camera. It's very vulnerable because I'm a complete stranger asking, preferably, especially if the idea is that I'm filming them while they're doing their makeup, ideally. It doesn't work for everybody depending on, your situation or what you do. But so I'm basically asking to go into their homes where they do this, very private thing every day and say like, hi, I'm a complete stranger. Can I come film you and ask you deep personal questions about this?
That sounds scary, kind of.
It's scary.
If you asked me to do, I would tell you no.
Yeah, I've been so surprised and I'd also, when I moved to Paris, I'd posted on an expat Facebook group about it. And the response I got was phenomenal. I had 20 people like, sure, come out to my, I had American woman who said, come out to my farm outside of Paris and you can interview my 13-year-old daughter, and all these. It was really, I was shocked at the amount of response that I got. Just, I'm a complete literal stranger. They have no idea what my background is, and they're saying, sure, come into my home and let's chat.
Now, is it just you who's doing it? Do you have a crew with you?
It's mostly been just me. I just hired on a director of photography. So we've been able to do a couple interviews together, which really helps because to be, asking questions, moving the camera around, setting up the sound, it's a lot. And I'm hardly qualified.
But you're chatty, you're fun. That's a qualification, right?
I guess. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of kind of splitting your brain like 3 different ways and being very aware But it's been a good challenge so far, certainly. And
so wait,
I've come a long way.
How long you been working on this thing?
Ooh, 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah, it was been a very slow. Started in my last year of university. The idea sort of popped in my head. And that's when, it was like one summer I interviewed like 3 people. And then I shelved it for a really long time. Yeah. Came back to it about 3-4 years ago when I was living in New York and working here. And
because it's a fascinating idea, I think.
I know, and I guess I always thought it was cool, but it's that thing where you're just like, well, it's my idea. Of course I think it's interesting, but I didn't know if other people would. And then as soon as I started to talk about it more, everyone was like, this is really cool. Why don't you do something with this? And it's like, okay, I guess I will. Right. You twisted my arm.
Did you ever watch the Chris Rock documentary Good Hair?
No.
Yeah, it's interesting. He went into his 2 daughters, African-American daughters, came up to him one day after school, and they were crying. And they were like, Daddy, why do we have bad hair? Right? Because, they didn't have hair like the rest of the girls, because they went to a primarily white school.
Yeah.
And apparently it was going around saying like this. And so he got so angry because, these kids were harassing his daughters that he went off and started actually doing an entire documentary about black women's hair and the entire hair industry and like the whole bit. And he even learned things, he said. But even me as a white person, I was just like, whoa, there's a lot I didn't know going on to black women's hair. I mean, it's like a definite subculture. And I don't even think people really know about that. So I think you're going up that same direction, but more importantly, it's for everybody. I mean, And also people, anybody who uses makeup, men or women, like it can go both ways. Yeah, no, for sure. And the complications too, even just like women of color, finding their shade. It's, from the interviews I've done so far, a lot of them say like it's been better in recent years. There's more brands that are kind of catering to that, which is great. There's still a long way to go. And also just, talking to them about the representation when they were younger, looking in magazines and they couldn't find themselves in it, and that's such a hard thing. Sure.
When beauty ideals in magazines and media in the last even 100 whatever years has just been primarily white. thin,
Sure.
tall, this just very
Right.
specific ideal, which is impossible. Even like the women in those magazines don't look like that.
Right.
So it's, yeah.
Well, then you got this thing, like I was walking down the street the other day in Lower East Side, and I saw these. I think it was a crew of like maybe 7 young ladies. I'm gonna wager that they were probably 16. I'm gonna wager about that, and they all look like Kardashians. I mean, like we're talking. When I say that, I mean like full on. I'm just saying full on makeup. And what's interesting is coming up in the Riot Girl movement, as I did in the '90s, a forgotten time. But women were kind of responding against that. You know what I mean? So a lot of the women that were friends of mine coming up, they didn't. They hated makeup. Mm-hmm. Like they never wore it, And so when I run across somebody like yourself, who even personally, I mean, you have your own application. I mean, you have your own.
Yeah.
So have you interviewed yourself yet?
I have.
You did it.
I have.
Filming your own.
I did.
Nice, good, because that's like I think that's a very good. So how'd that all go?
It's just I've only looked at some of the footage. I should really go back. It's hard to just sit and watch yourself. Because I can just talk for hours. The problem once I get into it.
You're kind of charming.
But no, it's interesting. It's funny to see like the people that choose to wear it or choose to not, and like is it a feminist response to wear it or to not wear it,
That's a
or
good
is it
question.
anti-feminist? So it's really interesting to look
So
at.
where do you side on this?
I don't want to speak for everybody. For myself,
Yeah, for you. Yeah.
For myself, I feel like it is like it's my choice, and it's my sort of it's my how do I say it? It's my way of like going into the world and like being my best self some days. If this is what's going to give me like that extra confidence, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah, it's a feminist thing to do. I'm saying I'm not going to necessarily look how you want me to look. I'm looking how I want me to look, and fuck you if you don't like it. I don't give a shit.
You're controlling the media.
I'm controlling it. Yeah. So I'm not going out and saying like, well, this person, this brand wants me to look this way, so I'm going to copy that. It's like, no, I'm doing what I do, and if you're into it, fine. If you're not, I can't be fucked.
So that's interesting. So it's kind of like you're the painting itself. Like you're in control of the medium. Like your face is your message to the.
Yeah, I mean, people. I'm like, I'm trying to be like a walking performance art piece. This is the version of myself that I'm presenting to the world today, and like, what can this version of myself accomplish, and what good can I do? How do I contribute? But yeah, whether or not I choose to put my face on that day is.
Put your face on. I feel like we're like talking in 1919. It's like, oh, God, put my face on, doll. Just one moment, please.
Some days it feels that way.
Hey, we'll go get my guitar. We're going to try some around, please.
Maybe after one of those 5:30 a.m.
Should be dating a gangster in 1929.
That's what I keep saying.
You'd have done well. I think you would have done well in that.
I would have cleaned up.
You would have cleaned up. You would have been a real mall, as they said back in the days. No one uses that word anymore. But I didn't even realize that. Someone brought that up the other day. They're like, you know what a mall is?
I've never heard that.
It's a gangster's girlfriend.
Is it spelled like
M-O-L-L?
M-O-Oh.
Yeah. You're a mall.
I'm a mall.
Yeah, you're a gangster's girl. Basically, it's like you travel with a gentleman who has a Tommy gun. Basically,
it's not too bad.
I don't know if they even have Tommy guns.
Can I have the Tommy gun instead?
I mean, hey, we can. I mean, you can talk to is it Bonnie and Clyde shit? I mean,
yeah.
Like, that girl killed a lot of motherfuckers. But yeah. So what brought you to this even idea? Like, was it because makeup like a close thing to you when you were growing up?
In ways, yeah. I mean, I would watch my mom. She'd do it at the kitchen counter every day, still does. And
at the kitchen counter, not the bathroom.
Counter. No. Because the way her bathroom was set up, they've like redone it since. But
like my bathroom?
Yeah. Like there was a mirror, but there wasn't kind of a place to lay out, your gear. And she's got a lot. So she would just do it at the kitchen counter. The lighting's better there. So she would do that every day. And I was got used to watching her. Or, we'd be driving in the car and she wasn't finished putting her lipstick on. She's got her like mirror open and it's like, Mom, this is dangerous. You shouldn't be putting
What she's doing when she's driving. I mean,
it's so funny. It's like watching her grow dangerous. Up. And I was in like, I'm an actor. And so I started in musical theater when I was like 6-7 years old, and I do performances. And, my mom would put my makeup on for me then. And I look at myself with all this makeup on as a kid, and like fascinating. And just watching all these women in my life, put it on every day was always just really interesting because it's all unique to every individual.
Yeah.
How they do it. My next door neighbor, when we were teenagers, I'd go over to her. I didn't wear makeup I put it on, I think, for the first time like in my life when I was like 13, like to go out to school or whatever, but I kind of gave it up for like a year and then came back to it a little later in high school. But my one friend would put it on every day, and she would take her mascara tube and rub it between her hands before like opening it and putting it on, and I had no idea why. But then when I started putting mascara on, I would do the same thing because I was convinced she knew what she was doing. But it's just sort of a powerful, like, sort of influencer.
It sounds almost talismanic in a way, because it's like one generation watching another generation do something that is essentially, if you can call it feminine, all right, we can use that term loosely, but you have something like this and you're watching other women as you're coming up do it. It's almost like it's so specific.
It's like passing down storytelling. Which is what we've, like humanity's been doing since our existence, the beginning of our existence. So it's just interesting to see it through this medium instead, through an actual story. But so it's always kind of fascinated me, and I don't know why. I got the idea, like maybe it could be cool if I filmed people doing their makeup and talked to them about it, and I was gonna make it a theater piece.
It's a great idea. And it still can be very much a theater piece.
Could be. I've tried it. I've done a version of it that wasn't kind of so on the nose, but I was really struggling because I started just filming it just to have footage to make something from. That was the only reason why I started filming.
I can even see having the film on the stage too.
Yeah. Oh, I've thought about it. Yeah.
It's
all been sort of like considered, and but when I was in New York, I brought the project kind of back and was trying to make something out of it, and felt like fitting like a square peg into a round hole.
Okay.
It wasn't really gelling, and I had some footage and I was showing my colleagues and mentors, and they were like, this just stands alone as it is, like the film footage. And I was like, yeah, but like I didn't do anything special. Like I just put up a camera and asked questions, and they're like, yeah, but it's interesting. Why don't you just make a film? And I was like, but I don't do that.
Like, because you never did that before.
I've never made a film before. I have no experience. I'm absolutely amateur. And so I just said, all right, you know what? Let's just jump in and see what happens. And so then I started to pursue it a little more seriously in that venue, which has been interesting, fascinating. I've learned so much.
Well, I think that's one of the first things you and I talked about when we were in Paris. Is that I was asking you about this, and I was like, this lady's really onto something. Like something's going on with this. Because it can be, like you just said, like a play. It could be all different kinds of things.
Well, now I'm working too. What's developed sort of more recently in the last couple of years is I got a Polaroid camera, like those Instax Fujifilm cameras, because I thought it might be interesting to document the before and after the interview.
Oh, like everybody before their
yeah. And it's funny too when I have the people that don't put makeup on to do a before and after it's kind of fascinating, but hopefully too with that I can tour it as an exhibition, because the film's going to be a little more of a longer process, but to have something that kind of builds this hype to make, I want to have like a party that's also part of the exhibition, showing some of the footage, showing the photos, and have it be like this big performance art party where you come in and the people coming to the event are the performance. And
you need a producer is what you need.
Oh, honey, I know.
So like, can we get anyone who's listening to this right now, seriously, produce this lady. Produce this. This is amazing. Come as you aren't. Think about it. Going back to these things, so how many people have you interviewed over time so far?
I think I'm at about 25, 30 people now.
So where's the end goal? When is this? When are you wrapping this up?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I want to travel obviously more with it. I have plans to go to Asia, other parts of Europe. Like I'd love to also go to Africa, and it's like if I could just be able to travel around the world.
Because this is a vehicle for that.
Yeah.
I think it's a vehicle for this.
Yeah.
It's a really, like Bourdain had his food.
Yes.
And you got the makeup going, right? And this is like,
because I don't even know at this point if it's going to work out as like a full-length film or if it would be better as a series, because there's so much content and there's so much perspective that I don't know. It's one of those things that will kind of reveal itself over time.
I think you got a tiger by the tail here. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think this is a seriously interesting project that can be so multi-varied, and I think that's why probably like the people that meet you and talk to you, they are gravitating to this idea because like they're already seeing like, oh my God, Kaitlyn, this is you could do so much with this.
It's
right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like endless, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything that people can see right now, like online right now, that can people check something out?
Yeah. I have an Instagram page. It's Come As You Aren't Film is the handle. And so right now, like every week or so, posting little snippets of people I've already interviewed, little quotes, so you can kind of get a feel for it. I have a trailer that's a couple of years old. I'm in the process of making a new one right now to give people a little more of an idea of it. But yeah, I'd say follow the Instagram. And if you want to get in touch and get in contact, you can follow me there or and message me, or I have email comeasyouaren'tfilm@gmail.com.
Killed Cat Radio. Killed Cat Radio.
I think I saw on Facebook. You were in band before?
Yes, I used to.
Tell
be
me
in
about
band.
the Rockstar days.
The Rockstar days. Yeah, it was a few years ago, back when I was still living at home, and it was sort of a kind of Fleetwood Mac-esque band. It was good times, man. I started singing when I was 6-7 years old, classically trained, and then kind of got more into sort of rock and jazz in my teen years, and I'd always wanted to be in a band. So I was lucky enough to do that for a little while. It was good. But now, it's like I've been away for some time, and I really want to get back to it as well. There's always
Well,
want to
you
do
can tell by your
everything.
voice that you're a singer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. No, I can hear it. You can always hear like someone who's a singer. They've got that kind of that tone to it. So where's home again?
I'm from Windsor, Ontario, across the border from Detroit, Michigan.
What kind of town is that?
Well, it's funny. So Stephen Colbert in his book mentions Windsor, Ontario, and calls it the asshole of the world.
Do you agree with him?
In some regard, no. Actually, I really love where I grew up. It's funny though, because Windsor used to be quite a busy town back in the 60s, and especially being across from Detroit. Detroit was a huge city. But then when the riots happened in 67 and Detroit went down, Windsor went down at the same time. So it's been a tough run, but the people are hardworking and they're honest and they're real. And I've always really connected with the people from home as opposed to, people from other kind of cities or towns. Even we've had to just like bust our butts to get to where we are. And I've appreciated that. And the art scene there is great. Music scene's amazing, better than bigger cities I've been to. A lot of talent. So it's been a good environment growing up in. Really grateful for where I come from, for sure.
But then you left.
No, I left. You know what though? There's only so much sometimes. I love where I'm from. I love going back and visiting. But sometimes that in order to grow, you can't stay in the same place.
That's amen, sister.
Yeah, and to me too, I had a teacher who always said that if you want to be an interesting artist, you have to be an interesting person.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, I coughed.
That's okay. I had a teacher that told me years ago that if you want to be an interesting artist, you have to be an interesting person, which means, reading, going and seeing art, traveling, I guess whatever it means to you. But that's what it meant for me, is getting out of my comfort zone, doing things that I never dreamed I would do.
Yeah, so the opposite of an interesting person would be someone who doesn't do any of those.
I guess, but it depends on the type of person you are. Some people can grow staying in the same place and they're quite content and happy with that. And like I've had friends who've done that and they're happy, man. I'm happy for them and still love hanging out and seeing them. And but for me, that's what I had to do.
But what drew you to Paris, though? Obviously, other than being like the coolest town on the planet, like
Yeah.
what else drew you to that city?
I guess I'd always had this sort of romanticized idea. Like, what if I lived in Paris and I had a baguette under my arm and I strolled along the Seine, and it was very, very romantic. I also wanted to learn French. Being Canadian, I felt it was important to be bilingual, as we don't really learn it very much in Ontario. So yeah, and I guess I wanted change. I was quite finished with, I did a bunch of stuff happen in my life, and I felt stuck being in Canada, being where I was from, and I was like, I think it's time to just go really outside my comfort zone, somewhere completely different where I don't really speak the language and just dive in and see what happens.
I mean, a lot of people, I don't think, I mean, that to me, that takes that's a bravery kind of thing. Like that's, you know, because a lot of people don't want to be out of their comfort areas and such. But it's interesting to think. So what were your visions of Paris? Was it much like everybody else's vision of Paris? That they have like?
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, Paris lives up to that for me. I think it's stunningly beautiful. Like I walk, if I'm having a crap day, I look up and the architecture's gorgeous and like, you know, the food is great and it kind of makes it all seem worthwhile as much of a struggle as it has been.
Yeah, you guys are eating well out. I'm really mad out here. Like, you know, I put on 10 pounds every time I come back to the States. And I'm eating meat and cheese in Paris and I lose weight. I don't understand how I get thinner in Paris.
Yeah, because the food's real, man.
And I get back here and it's just like whiskey, beer, shitty GMOs. You know, 12 pounds heavier like overnight. And it's like, God damn it.
The thing that like French people are rude is not, I don't think, entirely true. The Parisians get it, I think, can be a little more closed off, but that's also like a big city thing. You can get that kind of in any big city. But I found there's
except New York, of course.
Except New York, of course. Everyone's willing to chat.
All the New Yorkers just are like, hey, you want to know something? Directions? What do you need?
Yeah, I found that French people could be quite nice, but also sometimes challenging. I never had lived somewhere where I had been, I guess I've only ever lived in the States aside. So, and I can kind of pull off, people can think I'm American. They don't really necessarily go, you're a foreigner. But as soon as
you said you're reading, so obviously you're not American.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, she's not American.
That's how you know. But my French is okay. It gets me to a certain point, and then I work in a bar. So it gets me to a point, and then I sometimes have to say, I'm sorry, I can't respond to that, or I don't quite know what you said. And I was surprised at the amount of people that get really upset that I don't speak enough French, or that I'm not like, you know, they're like, why would you move to this country if you can't speak the language? Why aren't there jobs back home? Why are you here? Why don't you go home? And it was such a strange thing. And, you know, being like white and privileged, I didn't get that when I lived in the States. And so going there and having that experience, I was like, oh my God, if this is what I'm getting, I feel really bad for the people of color. And like, I've had friends, you know, that have had worse experiences than me being like a foreigner in France. And I kind of, you know, expect it from a baby boom generation. But getting it from people my age was absolutely shocking. And like, I would just say, have you never just thought about picking up and moving and challenging yourself? You know, this is the best way to do it, is to just throw yourself in and immerse yourself.
It's like an oddly nationalistic, but you're seeing a lot of this. So you're seeing a lot of this.
It's scary. It's really scary because, you know, it's like, I'm not hurting you. I'm not taking your job. I'm working in an expat bar where you wouldn't get hired, to be fair. But it's like, I'm just here trying to enjoy the culture. And don't blame me. Your country's the one allowing me to have a visa here. So go complain to them. Don't bitch at me.
Well, it'd be like, I mean, there's some American cities that people would be, even outsiders would be like, what are you doing here? You know, it's like, I accidentally married a French woman. And when she was, it wasn't my fault. These things happen. But no, we were in Texas, and she was asked so many questions from Americans, you know, being like, oh, what are you doing here? And, you know, even like the outsider kind of thing.
It's very strange.
Let alone the overt, frightening racism. Like, oh, you all got a Muslim problem over there, don't you? Like, that's what Americans were asking her. And she was like, you guys are fucked up. Like, I don't understand. I said, yeah, but, you know, the Frenchies do the same thing. I mean, to us, I mean, it's like, you know, and they're a closed culture. It's a very, you know, and it goes back to, you know, people always say like privilege this, privilege that. And I always say it's less about privilege. It's more about homogeneous culture.
Yeah.
You know, homogeneous culture is a very, very real thing. And so if you're the outsider anywhere, if you were to go to Beijing right now, I guarantee that you'd have a pretty hard time working your way up the
for sure.
ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's your white privilege there?
Yeah,
not a lot.
No, it's crazy. And it's made me, living abroad, being an expat has made me, you know, and being an immigrant has made me appreciate all the people back at home, as I'm like from a very multicultural city. And like, you know, I've always seen them like hustling and working, and I've always had respect. But like, it's just like elevated that now to go somewhere where you don't speak a language and you're just like, And then, people would always complain like, oh, all, the people who are Chinese, they always stay with the people that are Chinese
Right.
or stay with the people who are, whatever. And
Right.
and it's like, yeah, because they're your people. Like I go abroad, like all my friends are expats. They're all from like English speaking countries. It's what you do. You go with the people that you can connect with and you can complain about, your problems living in this country with. And it's like, yeah, it makes total sense. It's hard to just make friends with the locals because they're not always as willing to accept you, one. And two, if there is a language barrier, it makes it all the more difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, just mad appreciation for anybody that just up and leaves, either by choice or, if you don't have a choice sometimes.
And a friend of mine when we talked about traveling around Paris, he said that, he before I went to Paris, he said that he hates Paris, and he, not because of the culture, and he loves the culture. He loves the baguette under his arm.
Of course.
As well. I mean, who doesn't, right? Fresh baked bread, it's an amazing thing. But he said I cannot stand the Parisians because they will always like kind of put you out, right? He said, but here's when you go there though, the kebab guy is going to be your best friend.
Exactly.
So it turns out like that if you're an outsider too, that it creates this entire environment.
Yeah.
And so when I was in Paris, all I did was hang out with places that were people who were not from Paris.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking people from Morocco, we're talking from people from North Africa, Algiers, all these different places. It's remarkable that they were the most friendliest people to me.
Absolutely.
Including Canadians like yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. I go
or people from Croatia, right?
Yeah.
It's like wherever, it's
one
like,
of my favorite things to do in Paris, there's a open air market during the week, and I'll go there to get my groceries, the produce. It's a way better price and way better quality than the grocery store. So I love going there. It's my favorite thing to do because all the people working the stalls are not French. They're Moroccan, Tunisian, Algerian, Spanish, whatever. They're from all over the world, and they're the nicest people. They're so sweet, and they know I'm not French.
Exactly.
And they know where are you from, and you start having a chat,
excited.
and they start to get to know you, and it's a little community. It's like,
That's
we're in
right.
it together. We're doing this together, and
That's right.
it's really comforting. I love it.
I think that's very similar to, you take a place like New York and everybody kind of adjusts to New York's standards. You know what I mean? So like, and everybody, this is such an individualistic town, like almost to a fault.
Yeah.
Whereas like you don't even band together, you just kind of do your own thing and figure it out. But you're drawn to this city.
Big time.
Yeah. So what?
I have a strong love for this city. I don't know. I only lived here in one go for 9 months. But it left such an impact on me. There's and a friend of mine, when I was talking about, I was really missing New York. I hadn't been back in a couple of years, and my one friend said, "Yeah, but you live in Paris, so what do you have to complain about?"
Yeah.
And my other friend kind of chimed in, and she's like, "But the energy in New York is irreplaceable."
It's very true.
And that's what it is for me. There's an energy here that Paris doesn't have. Paris is a little more kind of relaxed and muted, but there's just a vibrancy in New York that I've not found anywhere else.
Do you remember how we met?
Yeah, for sure.
How did we meet again?
We met in the bar, one of the bars I used to work at in Paris. I was off shift though. I'd come in, I think, for a drink, and you were sitting at the bar, and I just asked you where you're from. You said you were from Brooklyn, and I was like, this guy, because I was like, I used to live in Brooklyn, and that like totally sparked our friendship.
But no one's gonna ever consider you a shy person.
Sometimes I can be.
I cannot. I've never seen
I
it.
can be very shy. And like growing up as a kid, when I was younger, before I did theater or anything, I was like, because I started out, the first artistic sort of venture I went into, my parents put me in tap when I was 3. And in my mind, I kind of remember it, and it felt like I did it for 2 weeks. My mom's like, no, you did it for 2 years. You were so shy. I never did a performance.
Really?
No recitals.
Yeah, but you're 3 though. I mean, like, you got to give yourself a break. I mean,
but even still, so eventually doing theater got me to open up a little bit more and be a little more social. But I can still have my moments where I just want to be introverted. I don't want to talk to anybody. But I try to go out and sit down and talk to someone new and meet new people. And especially there's this idea, especially when you're making something and you have no money and no means. There's a woman, part of the city company, as artistic director, one of the co-artistic directors, Anne Bogart, famous American theater director. And she talks about talking your work into existence. So it's like you sit down next to someone and you haven't even, like, if you're wanting to write a play, you haven't even put the pen to paper yet. And you sit down, you look to this person and say, I have this idea. Do you want to hear it? And seeing how, what comes back after that, like the reaction. And so that's like part of one of the reasons that I try to go out and talk to people about the project, or just in general in life, because you can meet such interesting people that way. I've met fascinating people just like turning to the person next to me at the bar and like sparking up a conversation. So I do try and be more social, even though sometimes I get nervous or anxious.
Well, what about the reaction? I mean, like, what about like just reaching out? I mean, where does like the social media aspect come into it? I mean, are you pretty savvy about all that stuff? Or?
No, I'm really not. I have such a love-hate with social media. I love that I can stay connected with people that I don't see on the regular. But I hate how how much it gets under your skin, and this idea. I had to unfollow a lot of people recently.
Really?
Yeah, because I was looking, I was like, follow these really, beautiful people, just physically beautiful, but they just post selfies and it's just about image. And I was scrolling through my feed and I was like, I just feel like garbage, because I feel like I'm not this person. I don't look like that. I'll never look like that. And I just got really negative, and I was like, this person for me isn't making any kind of like contribution. They're just posting pictures of themselves in nice clothes, and like anyone could do that. So I had to follow people that was like, not, if you're making art, you're doing something neat, you're helping the world in some way. I was like, yeah, those are the people I want to be seeing on my feed. I don't want to just see beautiful people, because it's nothing. It's total like just vanity, pure vanity. So,
and what's funny is that you're working within a medium.
I know, it just.
But I mean, not just models use makeup. Everybody uses.
Everybody does, right. Yeah.
But like, but suicide is up amongst young women. And what's interesting, that especially with the tech kind of thing that are going on now, when I was reading some studies recently, and it's like, apparently the effect of social media on young men is far less, because most of them are moving into a gamer kind of setting.
Yes.
So it's like they're playing like these, these communal games amongst each other in different countries. So
yeah,
the men
they can talk through each other.
They're talking to each other, and they have this whole community, whereas a lot of the younger women, what they're doing is sort of posting something and then rating their self-esteem about how many reactions you get from this particular thing. And when they don't get it, it's as crushing as, say, before any kind of social media was around, where it was just people not liking you.
Yeah.
Like in real life.
It's a conscious thing. 'Cause I'll notice too, if, my personal Instagram, if I pretty much every time, if I post a picture that I took that I think is really cool, that's I was traveling and like I liked the lighting and I took it, and like there's no person in it. Right. I don't get a lot of likes.
Like the Bowie album, One of You by the Spree River in Berlin, right? Yeah.
But like if I'm not in it, I don't get a lot of likes. But as soon as it's a selfie, there's always more interest in that, which I find,
that's strange.
Which I'm like, I don't even like that picture as much as like the cool picture I took of this Tuscan villa, and like that's what people jump on. They want to see like your face, and I don't know. And it's
that's interesting.
It's so weird, and it makes me uncomfortable. It's like, oh, then if I want that validation, then I just have to keep posting selfies. But then I feel shallow. Some people feel really empowered by it, and that's cool. And sometimes I do, but if I do it too much, if I'm posting too much, I feel very just shallow and not connected with existence.
I was like, I know the Facebook's kind of like losing its allure these days, right?
Time.
Everybody's kind of jumping off ship from there. But, sometimes if you look at people, I remember even judging, if I was going to go on a date with somebody, you Facebook stalk them before you go, right? And every time I'd see that it would just be like only selfies on the board,
like,
I would cancel, like immediately I'd be like, this is a bad situation.
Right?
And I know most guys wouldn't even care. Like, people wouldn't even care. No, for sure. But if I see someone who takes like over 37 selfies of their face in different positions, I'm like, I can't date this person. This is going to be really... You're dealing with a genuine narcissist, or at least someone who's like insane.
It's hard because like on the one point you want to say like, yeah, sometimes it's a bit too much, but then another, the other side, like devil's advocate, is like, well, they're confident in themselves, they feel good, and they want to document, and it's like, fair enough. I can kind of see both sides of it, but for me, it's like if I'm posting kind of too much like that, then I just feel like garbage. And I can't.
So you don't have a lot of that, because I didn't Facebook stalk you, so I didn't. No. I should have done my research before we did this interview.
Oh no, I try to be a little.
I was out till 5 a.m, so I didn't really get a chance to do that.
Didn't make the time for me. Didn't make the time. Yeah, but it's a complicated thing. Sometimes I want to totally give up on social media, but they have that way of keeping you. They keep you like reeled in. It's sick. It's really
But
sick.
your project's going to be like really, you're going to be working in tandem with this kind of thing.
I know. It's funny because I'm the least, even like makeup. I like makeup. I play around a bit, but I don't go to town. I don't watch tutorials. I don't know how to contour except for what I learned in theater school. But I watch all these people do such like amazing things to their faces, and I was like, I can't be.
You're like, what is going on here?
It's like I got my look, and I go like, I love glitter. And
How
I'll do
did
that
you
from
wait?
time to time.
You got your look.
I have my look.
What is that?
This, like what you're looking at now. This is my.
Wait. Is this a version? I mean, you guys can't see, but like.
So usually, like my general basic, like day to day, although I have eyeliner today, which I don't always do.
Okay, all right.
But is like foundation, a little powder, a little bit of just like bronzer on my cheeks, a bold lipstick, and mascara. That is like my basic.
Wait. What did you say about bold
lipstick? I do like bold lipsticks. It's an adjustment. Having this thing on your lips.
Yeah, I noticed it was almost. I did feel like I was wearing like. I mean, it was Halloween, so obviously I was wearing a costume, right?
Yeah.
So this is my experience with makeup, and I realized that I couldn't even. I had to adjust like what I was drinking, how I was drinking it, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like, I mean, how
I'm
many?
constantly just like, do I need to reapply? Do I need to? It's always in the back of my head.
And then you're like, wait a minute, did I already mess something up here?
Yeah, no, I keep it in my pocket. Usually if I'm at work, I keep it in my pocket at all times. And like every hour and a half, I'm like, there's a mirror behind my bar and I check and see if it's still intact.
Yeah, there's like a smudge or you got a little on your tooth or something like that.
Constantly aware.
Yeah, and so then I've been pitching this thing too, and I think I wrote a blog about this like years ago. It was called Men with Cats and Women in Lipstick, right? And the whole thing is like, I was doing a survey that how many women liked men who had cats. I thought, do you judge men differently? Again, this is very gender biased like dialogue, but do you judge men differently if he has a cat? And actually, what's funny is that there are half the women we talk to. Yeah, no, it's true.
But I'm also just not a cat person,
right,
so I think that's
so
part of it. I just don't like cats. So if you have a cat, I'm kind of like, shit.
All right, sorry, dating pool. Like now you know, Kaitlyn K will not date. Kaitlyn Kelly will not date you if you have a.
Yeah, exactly.
So is that right? But then there was the other women who were like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's like split. It was split down the middle.
For sure.
So it's just like, yes, I judge a man with a cat. And I'm like, that's so sexist. Why would you judge a man with a cat? They're like, well, they got to be strange. Like, why would they have a cat alone? I'm like, maybe they just dig furry, weird tigers in their house. I mean, like, it happens, you know. It's like same thing. You can judge people with animals, and then we got into the talk about like, people essentially who have cats don't want love.
Really?
And then people who own dogs need constant admiration.
That's true.
I don't know.
I am like that because I miss having my dog. It's back at home.
So you're a dog owner.
I'm a dog. Yeah, I have my dog, the family dog that I've had since we had one before, and then the one now since I was 12. But yeah, no, I need constant affection.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I totally know. I know my character faults.
No, I don't know. These are theories I'm working with here.
No, I think it's kind of true because then I've had people that are like, who are more cat people. They're like, well, having a cat's like having a roommate. You don't have to. And I'm like, fair, but like, why are they such dicks all the time?
But then they're not, you see. But when they finally come to you, then it's like,
but then
so.
like they're into it
Obviously,
for
I'm
like
a cat
5
person.
minutes, and then they get mad at you and swat at you and walk away, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. We were doing all right for that 5 minutes.
That describes my personality, actually, like very much.
Oh,
so that's my
see, I'd rather have the constant affection.
Okay, that's good. Well, hey, all right, that's good
me.
to know. However, so the second part of this blog was interesting of women in lipstick. And so I have a theory, and I don't know, and I've been asking people around about this. Because to me, when I see a woman in lipstick, and this is me personally, this is Matthew Diabate's opinion, I see someone saying, look but don't touch. Now, I don't know, because going back to what we said about how lipstick tastes like shit.
Yeah.
Like anybody who makes out with someone with lipstick already knows kind of like, okay, this is going to taste bad.
Yeah.
Like, I know most guys don't give a shit because they're just happy to be there, but like, to me, it's like, what is there any validity to what I'm saying? Like, look but don't touch.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. Like,
it's interesting. Yeah, because when I'm putting it on, it's very, because I wear like dark, I'll often wear like reds or browns, purples, things that are quite like loud. Yeah, it is a bit of a power thing. I feel like put together and powerful, and that like little feature does it for me. And sometimes it is sort of like, yeah, you can't have this. the vibe. But sometimes too, because I think they say something about red is very like inviting, interesting, like men are often drawn to red lipstick.
Yeah.
And so in ways too, it's like I'm trying to invite you in, but at the same time, like keeping you at bay. It's a fun kind of
Interesting.
game to
All right.
play.
Okay, because I'm trying to find validity to this thing. I don't know how much validity there is there. It's like, to me, it's like it says, you know, like you see someone who's very statuesque, and this could be anybody that you're talking to, and it looks like you don't want to mess it up. Like, you know, if you were to like,
it is a factor because you have to really say like, do I want to kiss this person, and like obviously that lipstick will come onto my face. I once
and the person who's kissing as well, they're gonna get.
Yeah,
some
I know. I once kissed someone. I had green, like a dark green, almost black lipstick on. And I could see the calculation, like, do I do it? Do I not? And then we kissed, and it was so funny because I pulled back, and it was partially on their face, and like obviously moved. And I just laughed because I was like, "You really took that risk there. This is green lipstick. Like,
now
you can't go back
now you've
from
got
that."
this right. To me, yeah. So it's almost like, and again, you'll explore this in your project. Mm-hmm. That makeup is an armor.
Yeah, for some people.
And others.
Just it's interesting. Sometimes it can be an armor, and for some people it's just part of them so much that they don't feel like. But I don't know how many people are really telling the truth when they say that. But I was talking to someone about this on one of my other interviews with a guy, and he was saying that for some people it can be a crutch, because I was like, you know, I ask in my interviews, do you ever feel like your personality changes when you have this, you know, look, like makeup on? And for me, sometimes it does, even if it's slight. It depends on kind of what I'm doing. If I'm going out and I do like a lot of glitter and a lot of this, I might like this is me, and this is my David Bowie, like whoever person. Or if I just have my regular look, it's like me highlighted, a little more confident. But you know, I don't mind stepping into a character. Maybe that's because I'm an actor. I'm kind of used to it, I guess. But I like doing it, and I can feel empowered. But I also can step away from it and be okay. I don't use it as a crutch, because that was the thing we talked about. He's like, some people use it as a crutch. They can't go out unless they have this character on. They can't, you know, that's how they interact with the world.
I mean, I was on the subway the other day, and I was watching a woman who, you know, it was probably like right after rush hour, like in the morning, right in the subway, and she was rapidly applying makeup in the subway car. Right, which of course you were saying about your mother, like, you know, going to work.
For sure.
She's putting her stuff on. It's like, this lady needed this before wherever she was going. Who knows where she was going? Maybe she was going to a funeral. Maybe she was going to work. Maybe she was going to see her son. I don't know what she was doing, but she was rapidly putting it on in almost like a way that she didn't look happy. When she was putting it, she wasn't applying it in a way that you can see sometimes people who are casually applying makeup. You'll see this, and I pay attention to this, especially on the subway too. You'll see a woman, she's got the mirror out, and she's doing her thing, and she's very comfortable. You know what I mean? She's almost taking her time with it. Everything was good. This woman was middle-aged, and you could see her putting it on, but the way she was putting it on was violent almost.
Yeah.
It was like, so she knew where to put it. She knew how to do it. She's probably been doing it since she was a little girl, but she was like, you saw a certain sadness, and I'm not saying, maybe she was, again, going to something terrible, but you could see how she was doing it. She was applying it almost violently to her own face.
Yeah,
and I found that to be
I've seen it with some women that and it's really hard as a woman to go out barefaced, because you get the people that say, are you feeling well today? Or you look a little tired, or you look a little this and that. And it's always that pressure also to look younger. And so like makeup can sometimes make you look younger. And I've seen it where some women feel resolved, like they have to go out this way to be respected, to be noticed, or if they don't want to stand out too much by not wearing it. It's this weird thing that it's hard to watch. Because like I look at some, you know, because I get to see a lot of people before they put the makeup on, start of the interview, and the after, and before they start, I'm like, you look beautiful, you look fine. But there's some of them who just say, I absolutely am not beautiful without it. And to me, it's like mind blowing, because I don't see that. I see an interesting person who's wonderful and funny and smart, and for them to not think they're beautiful just because they haven't put a bunch of chemicals and, you know, paint in their face is sad.
And this is something you're going to be, that you're exploring.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why this is fascinating. That's why I think people are gravitating to your project and very interested in trying to get this out to as many people as possible. To me, because it's just, have you done any, has anybody covered this topic before? I'm sure there's a pretty
that's the thing is
serious history to this.
There is. There's people who've covered the beauty industry and the money and the, that, which is fine. That's not what I'm doing. But what I've done specifically, there's been hints of it in things. In Paris is Burning, that wonderful film about like the sort of the LGBTQ community in Harlem. They do shows of the queens putting on their makeup, and it's stunningly beautiful and wonderful to watch. So there's been hints of it in film and other projects, but not quite exactly what I'm doing, which I'm always like, someone has to have done this before, and I'm always checking on the internet like,
you want to make
am I still the only one thinking about this? I'm like, I hope so. I always, the work I make is always really simple. I don't like to get too heady, too overly like off, my ideas are always simple, and if they'll have like political undertones or social undertones, I'm not going in saying I want you to like, I'm not going to drill this idea into you. I want people to take from it what they will. But I like to make something simple that kind of puts a focus on humanity. So
there's been no one. You've seen kind of like versions of what you're doing,
hints, but not exactly.
Yeah, but you're going into a very specific project with this whole thing, and this, like you said, you want to create a universe.
Yeah.
Describe that a little bit. Like what would that universe look like?
Well, I want it to be like partially in film, photography, events, parties. Because I was talking to another friend about this recently. Where I live in Paris, I'm around a lot of galleries, and every Thursday I think it is they have a gallery night, and so you come in, you can walk around, but when I walk by those galleries, there's nothing pulling me in. And it's not necessarily about the art, it's the environment. You get these white walls, pictures on the walls, people are drinking wine, they look really sophisticated. It feels very distant from me. I can clean up and kind of look professional adult, but I am a little scruffy. I like my dive bars. I like sort of finding the weirdos and
yes, you
do.
Yes,
I do. But I feel like sometimes the art world can be a bit elitist. And I want to make an environment that's inviting to everybody: young people, old people, people with money, people who have no cent to their name. So for me, it's like the come as you are. If I'm making events, I want them to be weird and fun and relaxed, so that you can anyone off the street can see this and walk in and feel at home. So that's kind of part of what I want to do with it as well.
So you're talking like concrete storefront, but also digital world they can walk into.
Yeah, absolutely. And just feel a part of it and feel like they connect. So that's the other thing too, is like I want people to feel represented when they see this project, that they're like, oh, that's me, or like, it's a part of me. Like I see myself in this particular person, or in this, aspect of like how this person applies their makeup or talks about it. I want it to be like, the sense of, because I think it's makeup is a weird thing that links humanity. It's this common thing across the board, across the world. And so I want this project to reflect that, to bring people together, to maybe you respect a person from somewhere else in the world that you've never been, and you know nothing about the culture, and you get to learn about them, and then maybe other people and other cultures don't seem so scary and so alien to you anymore.
And that's our show tonight. Questions, concerns, comments, hit us up on our social media. Twitter, @KillTheCatRadio. We got Facebook. We got Instagram. We got Curiosity. I'm Matthew Diabate. Kill the Cat Radio. We'll see you next week, episode 4. Thanks for joining us.